and you have to keep going even when you don't want to keep going. You just have to, it's relentless, right? It's like one thing after another, after another.
They feel sorry for me. That's why they're buying for me.
Sort your money out. Be good with your money and account for everything.
Welcome to the Luminescence podcast. We're joined here by Kayleigh from Pampas Tallo. And as always, we always have unfiltered conversations about businesses. And we'll get straight to it. Okay, you obviously have a dried flowers business. And why don't you start with how you started?
Started in our bedroom. Literally started in the bedroom. Actually, no, I started in the boiler room in our bedroom. That then grew to our bedroom.
Boiler room, tell us more.
So, in our, what used to be our main bedroom, we'd have the ensuite, the main bedroom, and then at the back of the ensuite, there was just a little door where you could just store things where the boiler was. Tiny. Slope roof. You could only stand at one end. And I started there with
like Harry Potter.
No, honestly, that's how it fell, because it was that small. And I had a few dry flowers in there, and I was making them up, and then I just couldn't deal with it because it was roasting because of the boiler. Mm-hmm. And then just grew from there to me buying dried flowers here and there. And before I knew it, I had drawers and drawers full of them.
So when did you realise that the flowers was a thing that you would ever wanted to do? Like, how did you even start that?
So I've always grown up with flowers. My mum always had flowers around the house. And then when we got married in 2019 and we walked into the venue and saw our flowers, and that feeling was just unmatched. And I knew I wanted to give that feeling to other people through flowers.
Mm-hmm. And I think often a lot of small businesses, they tend to come from a place of passion, right? As in, they often it's a hobby that you're doing from scratch, or you're thinking of something that you enjoy, and then you think, okay, I can turn this into a business. How do you think has that impacted you from turning from a passion or something you've enjoyed doing to now, I guess, running it as a business? Has it sucked the fun out for you, or has it been?
I would say the passion is still there because I love creating. Mm-hmm. That's where my passion is. Making new designs or just making anything. I still enjoy that part of it. I guess the passion has kind of been sucked more with the business side, admin side of running the business. Because obviously when we first started, I was making things because I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I still make things that I enjoy, but it now comes with other responsibilities that I had no clue about because I've never run a business before.
So what's been the most challenging thing, like in terms of doing it as a hobby, like the creativity and just having fun with it, versus now having the responsibilities, like you've said, about running an actual business?
I would probably say... Oh, sorry, what was your question?
What's been the most challenging,
most challenging is probably having it at home in the beginning and having to consider everything. So when I first started, I had a full-time job as a social worker, and that was solid. It was really hard. And then trying to juggle both, I couldn't do that, so then I had to pick. Mm-hmm. And then I probably shouldn't have just jumped into it.
So you picked your business, or at that time a passion, over a secure job.
Yes.
Wow, that must have been a scary step.
It was, and I literally had no backup plan. I just quit my job, slept for about 2 weeks to decompress, and then I got straight into TikTok and not stopped running since.
What would you tell yourself, or what would you tell yourself, somebody who's got a passion project, or for that matter, they're looking to start a business? What would you tell yourself 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or somebody else who's in a similar position? What would be your best advice that you would give to them, irrespective of what the business is?
Sort your money out. Be good with your money and account for everything.
Explain.
So, obviously, you've got your bills and stuff that you've got to pay for. Don't overspend on stock and unnecessary things that you don't really need. And just organise your money. Have your pots, know what your bills are, know what your margins are, all of that stuff that we've never considered, because for a lot of time, we just winged it with how much things cost and
Do you,
stuff
do,
like
you,
that.
do you ever think that you ended up spending more on stock than you did?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Especially in a creative industry like this, I think it's so easy to just get carried away, right? I think you
Yeah.
were saying like you see
Ooh,
the different
see.
colours and new colours and
Yeah.
seasonal colours, and you're like, oh, I need all of them, without
Yeah.
actually considering, does the business actually need it? Or
Yeah. And a lot of the times it didn't.
I guess the question is, how when you're a small business, how do you know what you need and what you don't need? Because it's, I mean, it's a passion, right? As in, how do you know? Because it's going from a
guess-
passion to a business.
With the flowers, my mindset was more choice, more of everything. You can have whatever you want. Whereas now, I'm getting to the point where the more isn't. I'm trying to sell to everybody when really that shouldn't be the way that I'm trying
I'm
to
going
do
to really
it.
hang on to this point over here now, and I think for especially the viewers and listeners, is this issue of when you're buying or when you're selling a product, or especially when you're early time in the business, you try to sell to everybody.
Yeah.
You think, okay, and I don't think this is exclusive to you. I think this is exclusive to most businesses. When they start, they want to sell to everybody and anybody. So you ask somebody, oh, what's your target audience? And they'll say, my target audience is from the time somebody has money in their pocket, from 18 years old all the way
to when they retire.
until they're in the coffin dead. Everybody buys from them because they've all got houses and they've all got apartments and so on and so forth. And I think that becomes, when you're trying to sell to everybody, you end up selling to nobody.
Yeah.
Because nobody resonates with you. Nobody really truly understands, okay, this is a product for me. I know for a fact myself anyways, if somebody's selling a product and I know that person is selling to me and everybody else, I kind of like, I'm not interested because this product is interesting. But another company could be selling a product which is exactly the same, but they've targeted my concerns, right? In particular, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is very interesting, very interesting. They're speaking to me, even though they've probably got another 100 ads targeting other people too. So I think that's a very big, important part of business. So do you think you have a better idea now in terms of, now that you've been a couple of years into the business, who you actually target audiences and who you're trying to sell for?
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, but I definitely know that my target audience is more like around my age, and mums, people who want the homes to look nice, people who have similar values to the values that we have as a business. I've noticed that a lot of people, it has to align with them. So if they've seen us on a video or on a TikTok and they've felt something, that's what we're then remembered for, us as people, as well as obviously selling the beautiful things that we sell.
And how
It's more of a personal connection.
So just on that note, in terms of that personal connection, because I noticed that you're sort of, I guess, the face of the brand, and I think that's through choice. But do you feel like that's had its downsides as well? Like,
yeah, 100%. Because I've got to be on all the time.
like performing.
I've got to perform all the time, whether it be on TikTok or doing a video. But I've got to be present all the time. It's always got to be my face at some point in a video for people to recognise, oh, that's Pampas Tallo.
So I guess there's that conversation, isn't it? Like, should you have a founder-led brand or not have a founder-led brand? What do you think about that?
I have different views with it. I like the personal connection. I like that the business is a person and you know who you're buying from. The side I don't like to it is the upkeep of having to be performing all the time. And then when you see other businesses, because of being a social worker, I'm very much aware of what I should and shouldn't do and can and can't do online. Whereas I can imagine a lot of other founders, from stuff I've seen, they've crossed boundaries and they've then got to answer for it, as does their business, because they are their face.
Annissa, what do you think about that?
No, I think that's it's a very valid point. I mean, it can be easy to just get carried away because you consider that the business page is your own personal page, and it's so easy to basically get cancelled, right? And then the risk that there is that it's not just you as a person whose reputation has kind of gone in the gutter. It's your whole business, your whole livelihood, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget. That
So do you think there's a way to actually make a distinction between the founder of the business as well as the brand.
Yeah, I think as much as people like to think that when they are sort of investing into a founder-led brand, that they're getting to know the founder on a deeply personal level. If you are a founder, you need to kind of almost make a character for yourself. That this is the
Whoops, sorry to interrupt the podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast or taking benefit from it, please consider subscribing to us with the button below. Also, if you have a business that you want to grow and want to scale, and you want to scale it profitably and successfully, there's a link in the description below that you can click, and you can jump on a call with us, and we can analyze your business and see how we can work together to make more money for you.
character that you're showing on camera for the business. It's not really a reflection of, obviously it will be you. It's not a fake character altogether, but it just to make it, I think you mentioned the word like it's like you're acting sometimes, right? I think just having that in your head that you are almost acting and you're just kind of fitting into this character that you've created, and just remembering that this is not your personal page, right?
But how about people that say that it's the best thing to do is to be yourself, because people can see through if you're acting? What do you think about that?
For me, I wouldn't say more on acting, it's just more that side of my personality has to be switched on. And it has to be switched on and hyper and just bubbly, everything positive for the time, whether it be a video or in person or on a TikTok live. I have to be my best self in them moments. Even if I'm not feeling it, you've still then got to switch it on.
Yeah, so you have to be quite mindful as well of not displaying anything that's not in keeping with what people.
You've constantly got to be thinking, right, is my energy where it needs to be today?
That's going to be quite difficult, right? Especially if you are actually running the business as well, right? You're the one that's doing everything else. And you may have, I think any business owner watching this is going to think like most days you have some ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
But having to then show up as well on camera and acting like everything is perfect can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a relationship between being live or going on social media and your mental health? Do you think there's ever had an impact on that? Or?
Oh, yeah. I think I might have told you. So I have ADHD and I definitely have a social battery. And 9 times out of 10, it's used on TikTok. So then before and after that, I get really exhausted. And there's been many a times where I've come off a TikTok live and then I'm just not talking because I've done all that talking there. So I definitely, me personally, have a limit of how long I can actually be on live for, because it's not just talking to your customers, it's reading their comments, it's answering questions, it's making something, because that's what they're there to see. And as well as might have music on in the background, I'm getting overstimulated by that and the 20 million tasks. So then when I come off live, 9 times out of 10, I'm like,
it's exhausting,
because
isn't it?
it's a lot. There's a lot to it, rather than obviously people watching just see that I'm making something for them and it looks good and I'm happy and I'm preppy, but
then when you have to get off live and then actually pack real orders before DPD comes, do some admin before you
and rush and stress and make sure everything's done.
So so obviously there is obviously, I think businesses, especially businesses that are heavily organic focused, there is that level of fatigue that comes from just constantly being on camera, recording, and then going on lives and talking. I'm sure that's mentally very, very draining. What would you say? I mean, since you've obviously set up the business, and if you were to restart the business from scratch again, what are some things that you would do from scratch to just get you there faster?
I'd probably learn other ways of marketing, because we've just winged it. We've not really studied anything to understand. We've looked at other people's things, what they do, and tried that. So
like
I'd
what, for
probably
example, when you were looking at other people,
if there's a trending video, we've fallen into the trap of doing that trend,
even if it doesn't actually lead to,
even if it doesn't even really resonate with the brand, we've done it because it's a trend, and the video might pop off, which then might lead to orders. So we've fallen into that trap. But I would tell myself, learn how to do things and get advice, because I've never run a business before and I've just winged it all this time. I mean, I've done a good job to get to where we are, but even so, it's been stress. It's had its stressful
I
moments.
think most business owners just fall into running a business, right? Nobody, usually, unless you have like a specific plan that you got a sum of money and you're going to set a business up with it, most people just fall into accidentally ending up owning a business. Again, through something like what for you, a passion or a hobby or whatever. And then it just sort of snowballs into something else. So you don't really have time to like sit down and be like, oh, I'm going to study how to run a business. If that it was even such a thing, right?
And I think you've categorized it quite well there in terms of, the different categories of businesses. You have two types of people, right? You have either businesses who have a passion, and the passion turns into, that helping families and friends. And then it's like, I can make this a little bit bigger and a little bigger and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And you've got other people who've got a budget in place. I want to set up a business. And I think people who set up a business with a budget, it's almost like it's more difficult for them because obviously they know they've got a certain budget and they have to make everything fit. Whereas somebody who's doing a passion business, they'll just get started and and they don't have as much pressure on them as opposed to somebody who's running a business with a budget and I need to run it because
until you actually give up your day job.
give up your day.
And then you invite all the pressure on yourself.
And I think that's the difference between passion. But now, obviously, Pampas Tallo as a business, obviously, it's it's a full-flown business. It's got logistics going on, it's got packing going on, it's got everything going on. And now, so where do you see Pampas Tallo? As in, what's your dream for Pampas Tallo? Where do you think it's going to go? Where do you want it to be? What's on the horizon?
It would be nice for it to get to a point where I don't have to do everything.
That's the dream, isn't it?
The dream is to even not necessarily like step away from everything, but have different roles that I can do. So if I'm doing the content, amazing, but then I don't then have to come off the camera and make an order. It'd be nice to be able to have some jobs that are not my jobs. That would be
the
nice.
spoiler is that even if they're not your jobs, the pressure and the stress of
Yeah,
that
that's
person
still
doing that
there.
job properly is
Yeah.
still going to be on your head.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And
Yeah.
that's the key. When Kayleigh was talking about it, I was just laughing inside my head because I remember, when you used to be in school and in business, right? They would often explain to you, like, what are the pros and cons of becoming a business person? And one of the pros they would say for business is that you can start work when you want and you can finish when you want, right?
That's the biggest lie they told us in school.
Wait, I'm not done yet. It's like they'll be like, you can take holidays when you want and you can make your own times. And what they didn't tell you was that it's everything but that.
Yeah.
You have to start before everybody. You finish.
And the guilt when you do finally take a break.
That is.
There's always that voice in the back of your head that, why are you not creating content right now? Why are you not
Yeah.
posting? And why are you not, check your Shopify, see what's going
But if
on.
you haven't, we get that now. If we've not posted in a day and it's getting closer to the evening, I'm like, I just need to post something, but so then I've posted it. But yeah.
And I think self-accountability when it comes to businesses, like I think if you, as a person, I think this is generally speaking, as a business person, if you don't have discipline, it's very difficult to ever run a business. Because discipline is, I think business is one of those things, it's probably the highly disciplined thing that you have to do in life because you don't get to switch off.
Yeah,
You don't
no,
get to turn off.
no.
You don't get to stop. You don't get to choose anything. You have to keep going and you have to keep going even when you don't want to keep going. You just have to, it's relentless, right? It's like one thing after another. And I think that's where, having the right support system and hopefully these podcasts that we're making is going to help people because I think every business has its own concerns, right? As in, for example, as a, flower business, Pampas Tallo, it has its unique concerns and unique positives. Vice versa, another business that doesn't have these concerns, they'll have other concerns.
Yeah.
And I think the really, just these discussions, I'm hoping that, people listening or watching, they're like, oh, okay, I didn't really think of this. Oh, I didn't think of that. And I think the issue that you mentioned about, a lot of stock is, I think many businesses fall into that. I remember, once upon a time, we didn't just order, a lot of stock. I think we probably ordered enough for 4 years. I think
And that is not an exaggeration.
and I
believe
think there must have been like 30 tons worth of stock sitting there.
No, because always you're in the back of your head is always that niggling feeling like if I don't have enough, what if I don't have enough? And then the stock runs out and then I can't make orders and then the business is going to close. But you never think of the other side of it is, okay, I've got all the stock, but what have I done to actually make sure that it actually moves back out the door?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of businesses kind of fall down as well.
I think stock control is very, very important.
Because there is obviously an element that you do need to be, like you said, there's on one hand, you're winging basically everything. And the other hand there is such a thing as over planning as well. Like if you are planning everything so rigidly, but then you're forgetting the other factors that can influence if that stock is even going to sell or not. And you just kind of neglect the other things. Like you neglect, like you said, there may be something happening on TikTok and you jump onto it because you're so busy focused on the numbers and being pragmatic and practical, you kind of miss out on anything else that can kind of contribute.
And I think
to
that's
that
the
as
biggest. I think I personally feel like that's one of the biggest distracting factors when it comes to business is the shiny syndrome.
well. Shiny object
It's shiny-
syndrome.
like you're constantly, one person's doing this, let me do a bit of that, and then you start doing that, and then another person is doing that, but let me do a bit of that. And I think for D2C brands, which is when you're selling direct to customer, the fundamentals for all of them will always remain the same. You have a good converting website, you have good organic content, you have your ads running, you have your email marketing. And I think that's your baseline. And I think a lot
And
of
if we were to summarize that even further, it would be have as many eyeballs as possible and then have a website that converts those eyeballs into sales.
and then retaining those customers.
And obviously,
so you don't have to pay for them next time.
So you don't have to pay for the next time. So some sort of system going on that they are coming back for more.
And you would not
And
believe...
it could be as simple as giving a really good service on the first order. It could be as simple as that. And I think a lot of people discount that you've got the sale in, and it's very easy to just be like, oh yeah, okay, we can take our time with sending his order out, because you don't know that by you sending it the same day they ordered it means that they might come back because they remembered how fast you got it.
And you would not believe how many business people I've spoken to who have businesses and they don't have those fundamentals sorted out. Ads, emails, good website. And that is the baseline. You can do anything you want. If you don't have those fundamentals set up, the business is...
You're just always going to be chasing a tail.
Like, I think...
That was us. Because we didn't have any of that.
And obviously recently you guys have changed all of that.
Yeah.
And, you can already see that, that those systems and bases, it's becoming more predictable. And I know a lot of people think that when you set up businesses online, sales are just going to come in like somehow, often.
Magically.
You know how many times I've sat with business people and they said, well, I've got a website, but I've got no sales. It's like, this is not a physical shop.
Yeah.
You don't just, people don't walk past and pop in. You have to tell people you
have a corner of the internet.
Have a corner of the internet. And I think that's very, very important. I think that repeatability, online businesses can become very, very enjoyable once you've got systems in place and the correct funnels in place and repeatability. And I think that's what, and I think the core is always going to be, a good brand, good values, good organic socials, paid. And I think the relationship between paid advertisement and organic socials is always underrated. You can have really, really good paid ads, but if your organic socials are not there, it's going to cost you a lot more. But if your organic socials are running and then paid ads are running, when they go hand in hand, they make, because I think I want to explain this in a bit more detail, because often what happens with the organic space is you have companies who will just go crazy with paid ads, but that means every single time, because they've got no organic content going on TikTok, Instagram, all the different platforms where the customers are at, every time they have to spend money to make people aware that the product exists. So that means you're having to pay for them to know your product exists, then pay for them to be aware of your product, aware of your brand, and then eventually buy from you. Whereas if you've got organic content, all those people that are viewing your content, they're hearing about your brand for free.
Yeah.
So when they hit out by an ad, they're already somewhat familiar, or hopefully they are somewhat familiar about your brand. And
It could be the other way around, that they would see the ad and they think, oh, it's an ad. But then they see the organic socials, which are more relatable.
Yeah.
They're not as salesy. You get to express your values as a brand a lot clearer as well. And they fall in love with that. And that might cinch the deal. So it's not even a case of...
They definitely go hand in hand.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love that point about this issue of ads. Nowadays, the best ads that are performing are native ads, right? Ads that don't look like ads. Because, there was a time probably going back a couple of years back, I think probably 4 or 5 years back, when ads would look like ads.
They have to look like a TV advertisement,
buy
basically.
my product, here's this, here's that.
Not even that, or really high production. Like it looks like a ITV,
literally,
through,
like cameras and everything edited, and there's somebody sitting there with like editing softwares for like hours and end. And I think because that happened so much, and businesses scaled as a result of that. I think people became fed up. It just became too
switch
much.
off straight away.
Because don't you, that it's...
And exactly, and I think that obviously the likes of all the social media platforms, they realized that it was impacting the user interface journey, because their platforms just became like sell all the time. So they started to, I feel like over time, penalizing you to make those type of ads. What they've done now, they favor ads that don't look like ads, so that the user experience for the people on those TikTok, Instagram, social media, whatever it is, they actually feel like it's not an ad and it's actually just organic content that's turning up. And I think that's probably another good piece of advice for business owners listening to this is like try to create content or ads that don't look like ads.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes across it and then you're listening to it and you're watching it, it's only you sometimes the ad has gone past and you haven't even realized it's ad, but it's educated you about the product.
Yeah.
And I think Pampas Tallo has some ads like that as well, where, you know, it's just, you know, your product is being put up in a certain place and you're kind of just designing it and putting it in a place like that. And you can't realize it's an ad unless you click it.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, okay, this is actually an ad. I think native ads is probably, it's definitely the future. And even low production ad, I don't think that's a word, but making it up.
They're called ugly ads.
Yeah, ugly ads. There you go. Yeah, ugly
I've
ads.
heard that a lot recently.
Yeah. So ugly ads, you know, they're taken on phones or they're purposefully low resolution. They look bad.
They're like far away.
But they work.
Yeah.
And I think they really, really work. And it just becomes very organic. So what would you say? So you think what your place to be is you don't get to do things that you're doing currently? What's the one thing that you hate doing currently? Don't like it. I know TikTok is mind consuming and it's tiring. I get that.
Do you really want me to be brutally honest?
Yes.
Okay. I hate having to respond to people's emails and messages on social media.
Customer service.
So I love customer service and I'm good at customer service. I just find it, because I over deliver, so like I'm very nice, I'm helpful, and I really take the time to talk to people, whether it be on email or on messages. It takes up that much of my time. Half an hour has passed, and I'm like, oh my God, I've not even made anything. So it's more the element of
I see.
doing that because it takes me away from doing other things.
That makes sense. Okay. And you know, the nature of customer service is also the nature of customer service is often negative, right? Because often people don't send you an email to say, oh, it's an amazing product. It's usually to say, I don't understand this, or I don't, you know,
This was messed
up, or this wasn't happy about that. I think the nature of, and this is one thing I've noticed generally, business owners tend to panic when they get emails. It's like,
the
oh
dread.
my God, it's like dread emails.
Yeah.
But it is the lifeline of the business.
Yeah.
And one good way around this, and here's a free tip for everybody, is, I guess, this issue of turning your customer service questions into ads.
Or even organic
Right?
content.
Organic content, right? So if, for example, you know, there's a brand, I don't know, I'm just wondering, for Pampas Tallo, let's say somebody often asks the question, something along the lines of, do you do custom arrangements? Or I've got this thing, would you be able to do this? And you know that question gets asked often. I would just make an ad and organic content around that and saying basically, look, by the way, and you know, it gets asked often, so every week or two, every week, I would make sure that content goes out regularly or via emails or via ads. I would just put that out there saying, by the way, we do custom arrangements, so that more and more people are hearing about it and less people are asking the question.
Yeah, the same question. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm, because before being a social worker, I worked in customer service. I'm probably over the top. Like me and Kate, you'll go to McDonald's and I'm in the passenger seat and I'm shouting, thank you, thanks very much. I am very grateful for anything anybody does for me. So
that's an
over
trait.
email, I'm like, it's not just a couple word reply. I'm like, thank you so much, thank you this, thank you that, because we genuinely do appreciate any order that comes through the door.
I think you should have I think email, you should start putting voice note features in. That
Oh
would,
my God, imagine.
imagine that. Imagine for customer service, you could just voice note it and it would just send it for you.
That'd be mint. Honestly, that would.
No, but
I'd
just
love
going back
that.
to a point of like, you really appreciate every single customer. And I think this is something that perhaps like if you're not a business person, you can't really fully comprehend how much your order actually means when you choose to actually buy from a small business.
Especially if we don't know the person. Me and Kate will be like somebody who doesn't know us has taken their time to go onto our website and choose us to order with. And that blows our mind.
And it kind of
I think
validates it as well, right? That it's
Yeah.
not just like, obviously it's nice when it's your friends and families that are supporting you, but sometimes it can almost feel like a bit of a pity sale. Like they feel sorry for me. That's why they're buying for me. So it's really like, it's nice when you've got that external validation that there are people out there that don't know me personally, that don't know like who we are, but yet they've chosen my products, my brand off the basis of how it looks to them. And they've chosen it over the big companies. They've chosen it buying it from, you know, in the high street or whatever. They've actually taken the time. to come to my website and buy from me.
And I think that gratefulness it comes across to customers as well. I think sometimes businesses make the mistake where they're very, very grateful for orders.
But they feel like they need to look really corporate and really professional.
Yeah.
And
then as the business scales and it grows, that gratefulness kind of diminishes over time. And that's the part customers don't like.
Yeah.
Like when they were small, they were very, very grateful and very thankful. And all of a sudden they've grown and they're nowhere to be heard of. And I think that's very important, that customers continue to feel that level of relationship with the owner or whoever it is that they were communicating with us, that they still feel like every sale is valuable to the business.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to keep that up?
I hope so. I hope we can continue
I think
that.
you will. I think you will. I think
Simply because it's just the bread and butter of us. I am overly grateful just as a person, so I don't think that's ever going to change. I have to teach Katie sometimes to be extra nice, but for me, I'm just like, no, it needs to be this, because I know what it's like being on the receiving end of getting something, and if I've been happy with it, I'll send an email to say thank you for this, or if it's been a negative experience, then you also feel that. And I think for us, my biggest focus is I want people to feel like we do actually care, because we do care about the flowers that we create. When we send it out to you, you're not just a random person. You mean something to us.
absolutely. And I think a lot of businesses could take. One thing I've noticed is customer service for a lot of businesses is not the strongest point.
Yeah.
You need to pick up the phone if I talk to somebody. It's like they don't want to sell.
Yeah.
They'll either be really rude on the phone, or they won't respond, or they'll just close your phone, they'll call me at a different time, or they'll just speak to you, or even the tone that they speak to you, and they're like, it's like they're half asleep, or they want to speak to you, or whatever the case may be. And I think having that positive vibe about you as in customer service is very important. I think as we sort of wrap up, in terms of the actual, what would you say you want the viewers to leave? Who is Pampas Tallo? And give us one last explanation about what Pampas Tallo is, what it does, and what it stands for.
Pampas Tallo is making your home that's already beautiful even more beautiful, with flowers that are going to last years, and creating memories. Because if you buy some of our flowers and you give it as a gift to a family member or friend, they're always going to remember that. They're always going to remember that you bought them that. So in years to come, when the flowers still look amazing, that memory and that person is just going to go back to, oh, such a body bought me that. And that's going to bring a nice warm feeling. And that's the feeling we want to give. We want you to feel like your flowers have been made for you, because they have. We hand make every single piece, and we just want that
You
to
hand
last.
make every single piece?
Yeah.
Literally?
Yeah, we don't quite grow them, but every
actually,
element.
Like, I think people might just assume that the product just comes and you pack them, but you actually cut and design it, you handpick each stem, and then
we're there with a hairdryer on the Pampas.
And you
we
curate each
make every single design. We wrap everything. We box it up. We write you a note. We do everything.
That's
from
amazing.
the sourcing to the creating, making, and then when you get it at home.
That's actually, I think that's very amazing. I think that in itself holds a lot of sentimental value, in my opinion. I think
because a person's making it.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not a machine or anything like that. A person is making that for you.
Absolutely. I think that's a wrap here, and hopefully we see you guys on the next episode.